69 is Neighbors.
69. Sorry.
What are you, 12? Could you just let me get through this? 69 is Neighbors.
69.
Dude.
Keep going, neighbors. Go.
69 is Neighbors.
69.
Fucking hate you.
Welcome to Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie's 100th episode. I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my spunky little co-host, Lynn.
Free your mind.
What mind? And joining us again, the podcaster with a fully packed bong, Pat.
I know Kung Fu.
This week we will be discussing the 1999 sci-fi action movie, The Matrix, written and directed by Lana and Lily Wachowski, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, again, welcome to Earth. Go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. All right, folks. Please take a minute to like and subscribe, especially if you're listening on YouTube, as it will really help this show grow. And as a personal favor to the show, being that it's our 100th episode, maybe as a little gift and a little thank you, every single person that clicked on this likes and subscribes. So that would be awesome. We would appreciate that. Okay. Before we do opening thoughts, Dylan, why don't you break down the 99 films that we have reviewed in order from worst to first?
Okay, at number 79, we have Urban Cowboy. At 78, Brain Scan. 77, Streets of Fire. 76, Staying Alive. 75, Strange Days. 74, Iron Eagle. 73, The Hitcher. 72, The Fifth Element. 71, The Highlander. 70 is a tie between Scrooged and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. 69 is Neighbors.
69. Sorry.
What are you, 12? Could you just let me get through this? What are you, 12?
Go.
69 is Neighbors.
69.
Dude.
Keep going, neighbors. Go.
69 is Neighbors.
69. Go.
I fucking hate you.
After neighbors, go.
68.
Thank you, Pat.
68. Oh my God, shut up, everybody. 68 is The Fly. 67 is Love Actually. 66 is Airheads. 65 is Dumb and Dumber. 64 is Top Gun. 63 is Mama. 62 is Heat. 61 is Trick or Treat. 60 is Don't Look Up. 59 is Bad Boys. 58 is Videodrome. 57 is Halloween. 56 is Air Force One. 55 is The Mist. 54 is Halloween 3, Seasons of the Witch. 53 is The Last Deal. 52 is Stuber. 51 is Kingpin. 50 is Clue. 49 is U571. 48 is From Dusk Till Dawn. 47 is a tie between The Cabin in the Woods and The Craft. 46 is Office Space. 45 is They Live. 44 is My Cousin Vinny. 43 is a tie between The Departed and An Officer and a Gentleman. 42 is 28 Days Later. 41 is Christmas Vacation. 40 is The Descent. 39 is a tie between Talk Radio and The Strangers. 38 is a tie between The Crow and Batman, the original one. 37 is Tombstone. 36 is Daddy's Home. 35 is a tie between Black Christmas, The Heat, and Bridesmaids. 34 is Starship Troopers. 33 is Better Off Dead. 32 is 1408. 31 is Dazed and Confused. 30 is The Prestige. 29 is Trading Places. 28 is True Lies. 27 is Fletch. 26 is Poltergeist. 25 is Predator. 24 is a tie between Constantine and The Breakfast Club. 23 is Blade Runner. 22 is Grandma's Boy and is also tied with A Nightmare on Elm Street. 21 is The Usual Suspects. 20 is Rare Exports. 19 is Lethal Weapon. 18 is a tie between The Lost Boys and Back to the Future. 17 is The Warriors. 16 is Big Trouble in Little China. 15 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. 14 is True Romance. 13 is The Boondock Saints. Number 12 is a tie between First Blood Rambo, The Wedding Singer, and Central Intelligence.
Nice.
11 is a tie between Sinister and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. 10 is Fight Club. 9 is Die Hard. 8 is Daddy's Home. 7 is Dawn of the Dead. 6 is The Mummy. 5 is RoboCop. 4 is Creepshow. Number 3 is a tie between Jaws and Dodgeball. Number 2 is Deadpool. And number 1 is a tie between Star Wars, Beverly Hills Cop, Galaxy Quest, Lethal Weapon, The Thing, and Ghostbusters.
Oh, that's some fucking rare air right there. I think we're about to add another one.
And I'd like to make comment that I did 5 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. No shit. You're a fucking score. Clearly a score whore.
Oh, yeah.
Rare Exports is the only one that stood out to me like it was out of place. That's way too high.
I disagree.
Okay.
That movie was far better than you give it credit for.
I mean, it's a movie that wasn't even in English, but whatever.
It doesn't matter.
I mean,
being in English doesn't mean a movie's good.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Dylan, don't go chopping up all that bullshit that happened in the beginning of this podcast. It was gold, Jerry. It was gold. Okay, let's continue on. Since you just had to say the fucking top 100 movies. Took forever. Let's do some opening thoughts on this one. So I will get us started. I have loved this one since the first time it blew my mind in the theater when it first came out. And I have some questions. So Dylan, you are an ex-goth queen who spent her days in a club very much like the one Trinity met Neo at. So I have some questions. Was The Matrix popular with you and your crowd of Man Ray friends? Serious question. Did they play clips from this like on screens at Man Ray at night, like with industrial music playing over it? And 3, did the outfits and the style of the movie in any way, do you think, influence you guys in the way that you were dressing?
Short answer is no.
Oh,
and let me explain to you why. Because anything that's mainstream is immediately like shunned. And that doesn't mean that if you're goth, you don't like The Matrix. Because obviously a lot of people still do because it's a fantastic movie.
Right.
But it's just like, there was a saying when I used to hang out in goth clubs, and it was friends don't let friends go to the goth club dressed as the Crow. So,
right. Oh shit, that's great.
So, and that was a real saying. You would say it to other people, like, "Oh, you can't wear that. Like, you've never been to the club. You can't come like that. You have to let me help you."
Yet I saw your ex-boyfriend dressed like Robin from the old Batman and Robin.
Yeah, because it was a superhero night.
He looked
duh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he had a good costume. It was a quality Robin costume.
Oh my God. All right. So like everybody else, I saw it in the theaters. I remember being very confused at the beginning of the movie. I didn't follow it at all. I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I love it. It's gorgeous, but I'm totally fucking lost. And it took repeated viewings for me to kind of like really understand what was happening. Gorgeous movie, beautifully shot, amazing cinematography, such cool camera work, so thoughtful in everything they did. Even watching it, and I told this to Des earlier this week, I watched it. Now, we did Star Wars last week, and I was watching Star Wars, and I was engrossed, but I looked at my phone a couple times, it didn't pass the phone test. The Matrix, I didn't stop. I just sat there, focused on it, and paid attention, and didn't even think about my phone the entire time. That's how intense it was, and really well done, and how much they pack into this 2-hour movie.
Pat, what are your memories of The Matrix? Had you seen it before preparing for the podcast?
Oh, of course I have. This is one of those movies that I enjoyed, like with The Predator, that had its unique features make it the blockbuster that it was. Their slow motion live action filming was just so cool to watch. They showed something called bullet stream or something along those lines, showing the track of the bullet
Bullet time.
And the way bullet time, that's it. And how it disrupted the airflow. It was one of those movies that you're like, oh yeah, I gotta see this again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. So quick question for everybody. Pat, blue pill or red pill?
That's tough. I won't make it easy. I would probably stick with blue pill.
Delin, blue pill or red pill?
Red pill.
Oh, I'm blue pill with Pat all day, man. I need my fucking edibles. I like
There you
it.
go.
I like it
There you
comfortable.
go.
I don't want to live in a fucking
Well,
a soup can. I'm good.
well, like Cypher said,
Yeah.
if he had known what the real world looked like, he never would have taken the red pill.
Ignorance is bliss.
And exactly, if Morpheus had showed you on that TV what the real world looks like and how they live from day to day, you'd be like, yeah, I'll take the blue pill. Never talk to you again. See ya.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's do some facts on this one. I've got some good facts. So the part of Neo was offered to several actors. Johnny Depp was the first choice to play Neo, but he turned it down. Nicolas Cage, also top of the list for Neo, also turned it down. Will Smith was offered the part as Neo, one of the first choices, but he turned it down to be in Wild Wild West and said he really regrets that decision. The studio wanted Brad Pitt. He turned it down, joking, I took the red pill. Leonardo DiCaprio was their first choice, I believe, or second choice. And he said yes to the role, but later backed out because he was in need of a break from being in VFX movies after Titanic. And finally, Ewan McGregor was sent the script, but turned it down to be in Star Wars Episode 1. So
I find it interesting that DiCaprio turned it down because he didn't want to be in another VFX movie. And then he turned around and he was in Inception, which is basically this movie 10 years later.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was almost like he was trying to make up for the fact that he missed out.
Yeah, it's funny.
I also read that Will Smith also turned the role down, saying that he wasn't as mature an actor as he felt the role needed, and he would have just messed it up.
Yeah, and
Now,
they gave
mind
it to Ted. Oh, God. All right. Number 2, the role of Trinity had an illustrious list of leading ladies, including names like Selma Hayek, Sandra Bullock, and even Madonna was considered for the role. While it was alleged that Jada Pinkett Smith screen tested for the part before the Wachowskis decided to look elsewhere, Moss, who was best known for her television roles at the time, would go on to play Trinity to perfection as an instantly iconic action heroine. And finally, number 3, the scenes in The Matrix had a green filter. The scenes in the training construct had a yellow filter. And the shots in the real world had no filter, but were stacked with blue in the background to give it a blue feel. So that kind of, I like that. It kind of separates, lets you know where you are in the movie just kind of by the tint that they're presenting in each section of the movie. So I thought that was pretty clever. Delin, do you have any facts on The Matrix?
Well, first of all, I'm going to piggyback off the green, blue, yellow thing. The interesting thought is yellow is a neutral computer world. Blue is quote unquote the real world. And when you go into the Matrix, it's a mixture of them both and it's green. What do you get when you mix blue and yellow? You get green. So I thought that was very clever. I also read online, and I don't know if it's 100% true. So if it is not, please forgive me, but this was being able to digitally color the film. So this was done with a lot of practical things, whether they used gel filters or if it was just lighting or what, I'm not exactly sure. But they didn't just put it through a computer to make it the colors that they made it. It was a little bit harder than that. This was, this was the early days of VFX. I actually watched behind the scenes the scene where they blow up the elevator.
Yeah.
I thought that was all CG. I was like, oh, that's all CG. It was not. They built they built a little hallway and they pulled back a camera and they had an explosion come out. And the only thing that's CG in that is the elevator door. Yep. Yeah. Yep. So I was like, wow, okay. I thought that was pretty cool.
I can see that the flames looked so real.
Yes.
But the door just
Did
did
not.
not.
Yeah, because this was early days, so things weren't quite caught up yet. The company that Neo works for in the real world, Metacortex. Meta means transcending, and cortex means brain. And his boss says to him, "You think you're special and that the rules don't apply to you." And this is what the movie's about.
Yeah.
He is special and the rules don't apply to him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really
that's
clever.
ironic.
Yeah.
And
that's fucking hilarious.
do you remember, honey, we had the DVD of this, and if you move, remember you could use the DVD controller to move the cursor, and if you clicked on the white rabbit, it would take you to like behind the scenes. But if you didn't
Yeah.
know to click on the white rabbit, you'd never even know those scenes were there.
Yeah.
And somebody was
Probably a
talking
Blu-ray
about
feature.
that.
Sounds
It was-
like a Blu-ray feature.
Yeah, but this was like before Blu-ray. This was
Oh yeah.
back like 2001 or so. So
Yeah.
I thought
That's
that was
true.
cool.
I'd like to make comment talking about the different actors and actresses. I'd read that as they were going through the list of people to play Neo, Sandra Bullock's name came up as a female version of Neo.
Interesting. Yeah, I did see that she had been offered the role of Trinity. I didn't know that she'd been offered the role of Neo. Interesting.
I thought it was a little strange until I didn't realize that the Wachowskis were women.
Well, they were men when they made the movie, but
They're trans.
They're trans, so they have.
Oh well, hell, that explains a lot because I could have sworn I saw the name Wachowski brothers
Yes, they
'Cause it
were.
was.
They were brothers, and now they're
in the
sisters.
credits.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going nuts.
No.
Well, maybe not that nuts, but
Yeah.
No, I think they transitioned maybe like 10 years after the film came out. So
Okay, that explains that little dilemma.
You are going nuts, and they were men. Okay. Okay, so quickly, with a box office budget of $63 million and a box office gross of $467.2 million, this was considered a huge, huge box office boner. Studio got paid. They loved it. Let's do a little synopsis. Computer hacker Neo discovers the shocking truth. The life he knows is the elaborate deception of an evil artificial intelligence. There you go.
all right. A phone rings and text appears, revealing this call is being traced. As a conversation takes place between a woman and a man, a table of random green numbers are being scanned and individual numbers selected, creating a series of digits that is apparently a phone number. She ends the call when she realizes she's being traced. Armed policemen move down a dark and dirty hallway in the heart of the city hotel. At door 303, they kick down the door and find a woman dressed in black facing away from them. It's Trinity. Outside the hotel, a car drives up and 3 agents appear in neatly pressed black suits. They're Agent Smith, Agent Brown, and Agent Jones. Agent Smith admonishes the policeman that ignored their orders and informs him that his men are already dead. Inside, Trinity kicks ass, including a few moves that seem to defy gravity and reality. She takes off for another exit with an agent giving chase. She makes it to a public phone just as a huge garbage truck does as well. The phone is ringing. She runs for it just as the truck hits the gas, and the truck hits the booth, taking out the brick wall behind it as well. As the agent inspects the rubble, there's no body there. Dun, dun, dun. So the cool thing about the cascading code that we all ended up with as our screensaver back in the early 2000s,
Right.
everybody had it. So it is regular Roman letters, it's digits, and then it's also Japanese katakana that they flipped. So it's supposed to give you the idea that you're seeing everything backwards and looking from the outside. So I thought that was really clever when I read that.
Yeah.
So this begins this thing with the number on the door, 303. Trinity, 3, is inside. Neo, twice, is behind doors that say 101. The Oracle is also in an apartment 101, which I'm not quite sure how that fits in, but Neo's apartment is 101 and the interrogation room he's in is 101. So I thought that was interesting.
As in the one.
As in the one.
So right off the bat on this rewatch, it felt like they were setting Cyphers up as the rat. Like they were almost telegraphing it right out of the
Immediately.
gate. And I didn't really catch that until I watched it for this, for this rewatch. I mean, you always kind of knew he was a little shady of a character, but I mean, they're telegraphing this to where it should be no surprise when he turns out to be the rat. And also we get this exposition between him and Trinity that not only set him up as the rat, but it also sets up that she has an affinity or, sort of a crush on Neo, even though they've never met. And it's just clever storytelling. It's setting up a lot really quickly. And I also couldn't help to think that fucking Morpheus needed to install some better spamware on that fucking ship because it's not good. And this whole opening scene with Trinity escaping the police, not only did this look amazing, but it pulled me into the world, just like last week when we were doing Star Wars. And I was saying the same thing, man. Some of these fucking like sci-fi visuals, they yank you into the movie. Just like in Star Wars, the Wachowskis really created this like lived in world that felt huge. Everything was dirty. It didn't feel Hollywood stage. And I really liked it. I was all in from the first scene to the closing credits, just like Delin, no looking at the phone, no looking at the timer. I have to say, I definitely got an Ursa vibe from Trinity. Now, for anybody who doesn't know how Ursa's the patent leather-wearing villain from the 1980 Superman movie, her and General Zod.
Oh, yeah.
And man, they're dressed almost identical. And there's a scene where Ursa flies. And I gotta say, it almost looks the same as when Trinity is flying through that window in the opening scenes, running from the agents. And I think that's really a testimonial to how good that first Superman movie looked for the time it came out. I mean, that was 1980.
I'm sure it was wire work, much like this movie was a lot of wire work. It was not CG. So you were probably dealing with wire work back in that movie too, which gives you that kind of look. But the interesting thing is that Trinity is actually based on Major Kusanagi from the anime Ghost in the Shell. And to the point that there's like scenes that are almost directly taken from the Ghost in the Shell movie that ended up in the Matrix. And Kusanagi, also short black hair, is very sexualized, even though she's very powerful, just like Trinity. So it was very interesting that they chose to go with that.
Oh, cool. That's some fucking insight right there, huh?
Yeah.
Pat, what do you got?
The opening scene with Trinity and someone on the phone. Once you've seen the movie and you hear everyone's voices, when you watch it again, like we do for the review, that conversation is between Trinity and Cypher.
Yes.
And right off the bat, it's like, Trinity's like, is this a secure line? Well, of course it is. Right there, Cypher set himself up for the villain.
Yes.
Even before he dropped the phone in the trash can later in the movie.
Yep.
His love for Trinity was obviously his jealousy over Neo, and the fact that he can't stand being Morpheus's lapdog pretty much sets him up for everything, all the motives necessary to be the villain.
Yeah, it's funny. He is a villain, but at the same time, he's also, a prisoner of circumstance. He was kind of lured out of his comfortable life under false pretenses, like everybody on that ship, except for, the two human brothers, all natural brothers, Tank and Dozer. So
that's why I took the blue pill.
You sort of have to, I get it. He's a creep, but you got to kind of feel for him at the same time.
Thomas Anderson, also known as Neo, a hacker, is dozing at his computer when he's awoken when his screen turns black and the text "Wake up, Neo" appears on screen. Despite trying to stop whatever program is running, the screen then tells him the Matrix has you, follow the white rabbit, and then knock, knock, Neo. Just as he reads it, a knock comes at the door of his apartment 101. It's a group of clubbers, and Neo gives them contraband software for cash. One of them asks him to join them, and Neo says no until he sees one girl has a white rabbit tattoo and decides to go with them. At the nightclub, Neo stands alone until the woman from room 303 approaches him and introduces herself as Trinity. Neo recognizes her name as she was a famous hacker. She tells him that he's in great danger and they're watching him, and that she knows that he is searching for the answers, particularly the most important question of all: what is the Matrix? The pulsing music of the nightclub gives way to the blare of Neo's alarm clock. He's late for work. Neo works for a software company and he's berated by his boss for continuous lateness. Back at his bare cubicle, Neo receives a FedEx and finds a phone inside that rings as soon as it's in his hands. On the other end is Morpheus, who informs Neo that they've run out of time and that they are coming for him. The three agents are there and spread out across the office looking for him. Morpheus sends him out onto the outside of the building and tells him he either takes the scaffolding to the roof or the agents are going to get him. He's unable to get onto the scaffolding and decides to let them take him into custody. As they put Neo in the car, Trinity is on a motorcycle watching them in her rear view. She drives away when she's noticed. Did you notice, we haven't gotten quite to the interrogation, but did you notice that Mr. Anderson's passport expires on 9/11/01?
Wow. No.
That's
No
weird,
shit.
right? That's
Did it
weird.
Really? Or is that
Yeah.
something photoshopped from like now?
No, it's real.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I mean, this was done in
weird.
1999, so it might have just been one of those things like it was just maybe they picked it because it's, it's 911, so maybe they picked it for that. But yeah, I thought
and
that
I
was
think I think the Columbine shootings were like 2 weeks after this, and those kids were all, heavily into this movie. And then there was another kid that shot his parents, and they actually came up with a legal term called the Matrix defense because he watched this movie on a loop, like nonstop, and he had convinced himself that he was in the Matrix, and he killed his parents. They tried to use it in court to get him off, and it did not fly. And nobody uses the Matrix defense anymore. It was a
with
loser.
good reason.
It was a loser.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this, we get this great scene of Neo's apartment. Kind of reminded me of McLeod's apartment in fucking Highlander. We're going to learn a lot about him here. It tells us everything we need to know. He's a recluse, super computer savvy. The apartment looks fucking great. When Troy comes to buy the pirate software from Neo, he says, "Hallelujah, you're my savior, man, my own personal Jesus Christ." And, all this I kind of came up with on my own. I didn't read it anywhere, but this definitely has heavy-handed hints of religion. We're setting up this Neo as the Messiah. The
Trinity.
the apostles. I felt like Morpheus definitely represented Paul, like the main apostle that was like the big, preacher that everybody followed until he, gave his endorsement to Neo as the Messiah. And then everybody, still followed Paul, but then, looked up to Jesus, basically.
Yeah. And also Zion is, like there's so much.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And then finally, it's so obvious you're going to get Cypher as Judas, who's going to sell Jesus out. So, I mean, you can see the story of Christ in this movie if you want to, and it's not hard to do.
Yeah, there were Christians that protested this movie because they said it was too heavy-handed with the religion.
But see, I don't know why anybody would be upset about that. It's just bringing an age-old story into, modern times and introducing people to, these characters and these ideas. I thought it was fun. I thought it was clever and fun. I didn't see any problem in it. And this is coming from a guy who has Jesus tattooed on one side of his neck and Mary tattooed on the other side. So there you go. And finally, the scene in the office. Okay, we've seen this a million times since, but it is so much fun. It really sets up the character of Morpheus as this next level dude. And fucking Lawrence Fishburne, his voice is so cool. I don't even need to see him. Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
Yes. It's so good. I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Neo lives at, every time I see Neo's apartment, for some reason my mind goes to Gotham City.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know if it's the lighting or the clothes, but the fact that his computer was taken over immediately sets anyone who uses a computer on edge. How the hell did that happen?
Sure.
Obviously, you got to know what you're doing to make that happen on somebody else's computer.
Yep.
I thought it was clever. Wasn't going out with them. He was tired. He's got to get up in the work. And the moment he sees that white rabbit tattoo, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny the way he's like, it hit him. He's like, oh shit, white rabbit. I remember when I saw the movie, this was back when people were burning CDs. I remember the song in the club. And I'm like, I think I remember looking for the soundtrack credits at the end and saw that it was a
White Zombie.
dance club version of White Zombie's Dragula.
So good.
Oh God, I found that somewhere and I burnt that on a CD. And it's. I don't listen to music loud, but I had to listen to that song loud. It was so good. Um, Meeting Trinity, thinking that it was a guy, and her response was so perfect.
So
Yeah,
good.
most guys do.
I love that. She's a
That was.
she's a great character. I mean, she's got to rival Ripley, right? From
Oh yeah,
Alien. I mean,
yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
kicks ass.
Yeah, I mean the scene earlier when she jumps through the window and she's waiting at the bottom of the stairs with the guns. If you look at her, she's shaking
Oh
because
yeah.
she's going, get up, Trinity. And it was like, that's fucking good acting because she was like, she looked so petrified and just I loved it. I was like, she got it. She read the notes and she knew what she was doing.
Yeah, as did I.
Was I the only one that felt a tribute being paid to the old Japanese martial arts movie when Trinity did the freeze frame in the opening fight scene?
The stunt coordinator is Woo Ping Yun, and he was the stunt coordinator on Jackie Chan's Drunken Master,
Mhm.
and he's really, really highly respected, especially among martial arts. And so his that whole fight scene that comes later with Morpheus and Keanu Reeves is all him. And yeah, so there's a lot of kung fu, and it's on purpose.
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading somewhere that they have something they call wire fu
Yeah.
that had a lot to do with the
Yes.
older martial arts, Japanese martial arts movies.
Yes.
So when Trinity did that freeze frame, that's the first thing I thought of. It's the first place my mind went to.
Yeah,
Right.
there were a ton of injuries on this. That stunt man was seriously injured during filming. Moss, who played Trinity, she was injured. She hurt her ankle really bad on one of the takes, which is actually in the movie. And she was on crutches for 6 weeks during shooting for this. I believe Keanu Reeves hurt himself trying to do the triple kick off the wire. There was a lot. There was a lot of injuries. And they say that Reeves really took this martial arts stuff, like these scenes in the dojo, like
Yeah, yeah.
ultra seriously. Like he would do 50 takes, like crazy stuff. So yeah,
He would look to train on days off. He
yeah,
wanted to do this so much. But apparently he was just coming off of surgery
yep,
Yeah,
for a
neck
herniated
surgery.
disc, the
yeah,
neck surgery, yeah. And he could only do so much, and that a lot of these fight scenes had to take place after he was fully recovered.
yeah,
Um, I remember reading that Carrie Ann Moss, in the later scene at the end when they're in the lobby, the big firefight, when she
Yes.
goes running up onto the wall, apparently she hurt herself making that scene.
hmm,
And it's like, what was the other one I remember reading? The scene where Neo was in the subway and Agent Smith was on his back. Apparently, the stuntman that pulled that scene off hurt himself three different places just in doing that one stunt.
yep,
Wow.
yep,
Broken ribs, dislocated shoulder. I'm like, fuck!
yeah,
Yeah.
They pay these guys well.
Neo can be seen on several television screens, and the camera pans through the screen to the actual room. Agent Smith interrogates him, revealing that they know he is Neo, a prolific hacker. He tells Neo that they will forget his colored record if he will turn on Morpheus. Neo gives them the finger and asks for his phone call. Mr. Smith then asks him, what good is a phone call if he's unable to speak? Suddenly, Neo's lips are melting together and he is unable to speak because he's got no mouth. Panicked, he is thrown onto the interrogation table by the agents and they implant a shrimp like bug into his body. Neo awakens in his own bed, assuming it's all been a bad dream. His phone rings and Morpheus is on the other line. He urges Neo to come meet him. He's picked up by Trinity and two others in a car. A woman in the front seat, Switch, suddenly points a gun at him and tells him to take off his shirt. Trinity tells him it's for their mutual protection and that he has to trust her. He takes off his shirt and she uses a device to remove the probe that Neo believed had been part of a nightmare. They take him to Morpheus. Morpheus explains that he's been searching for Neo his entire life. He explains to Neo that they exist in the Matrix, a false reality that's been constructed for humans to hide the truth. The truth is that everyone in the world is a slave born into bondage. Morpheus holds out two pills, and his left palm is a blue pill. If Neo takes it, he will wake up in his bed and believe whatever you want to believe. But if he takes the red pill in Morpheus' right hand, then you stay in Wonderland and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Neo takes the red pill. So I have a few things to say here real quick. So first of all, the scene with his mouth being missing, that is loosely based. Well, this movie in general is loosely based on Harlan Ellis's story, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Mhm.
And this is literally taking the title of that story and doing it literally. So I thought that was interesting because that story is based on, a war between humans and robots and blah, blah, blah. So it's basically, it's not the same story, but it's pretty close.
He made everybody on the set read that book, and there's actually when he pulls the book out to put Troy's money in and pull the chip out, that's the book.
No, it's not. It's Simulacra and Simulation. That's the book.
Oh, well, maybe that's the book everybody had to read.
That's the book everyone had to read.
They had to be able to explain it, explain the movie to the media. So the cast and crew all were required to read that and a few other things.
Yeah, there was two other books
so they could understand what they were doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, the movie in general also has a lot of Philip K. Dick stuff. Obviously, Blade Runner, the most famous thing that we know from Philip K. Dick. But I actually saw an interview with Philip K. Dick back in the 70s, and he said, "We are living in a computer simulation."
Yeah.
And that was back in the 70s. And I'm like, wow, that was some forward thinking for the 70s.
That's nothing because now, I mean, you've got professors at Harvard and Yale and some of the best, some of the brightest minds that say the chance of us living in base reality right now is like 1 in 100 billion.
Right.
And this is not just tinfoil hat thinking anymore. These are literally the brightest minds on the subject have all come together and said there's almost zero chance we're living in base reality right now. Almost zero chance. So let that sink in.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
A couple of other things. I want to touch on the character of Switch real quickly because you don't get much from her later. So Switch was supposed to be a male in the real world and a woman in the Matrix. And it's actually it foreshadows the actual Wachowski's personal journey, which I think was really interesting.
And I wish that they had been allowed to make that choice. Now, I don't know if that was
they forced them not to.
Yeah, and I think that was a huge, huge mistake. I think that would have been a really clever, thing to put into this movie.
A plot device. Yeah.
Yeah, and God, it would have aged so well. Oh my God, they probably would have sold another million fucking copies of this now.
Yeah. But you had said to me earlier this week that Keanu Reeves seems very like Ted through the beginning of the movie.
He does.
And so it's funny, I read this that he was written a little smarter and a little bit quicker on the take up, and the movie exec said no one in the audience is going to understand what's happening. He has to start asking questions and not understand what's happening to force the extrapolation of information. So
right. That makes sense.
In the first 45 minutes of the movie, he has 80 lines and 44 of them are questions, which is crazy. And then Switch says to him in the car, "We don't have time for 20 questions. If you go back and count how many questions he's asked up until that scene, he's asked 20 questions."
You want to know what's really funny about that? Because you mentioned how Inception was another version of this so long after the fact. And it's really... They do the exact same thing in that movie where they have this very, very complicated movie, very hard to follow. So they bring in the actress who is now an actor, and she plays the part of Neo, where she's going to ask Leonardo DiCaprio a million questions to explain what's going on. And it's really smart storytelling, and it kept this movie on the rails 100%.
To me, it's something like that is necessary if you don't have a third person narration going on during the scenes.
Right.
One of the things I liked about the old series Burn Notice was that third person narration. It helps explain what's happening in a way that you can understand it regardless of the language.
Yeah. Yeah, so this interrogation scene, Dylan, like you said, this is where the sci-fi kicks in this movie, right?
Yes.
And we meet Agent Smith, who, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best character in this movie and in the entire franchise. He is
I agree.
He's so good.
Awesome.
He's so good.
Absolutely
the actor
awesome.
is just money.
You know what's funny too is that he based his performance on Walter Cronkite.
So good.
Because it's that even, steady, almost emotionless most of the time. And I was like, That's actually crazy when you think about that. That's what he used as a template to build Agent Smith.
Oh, it's so good. Um, Also, like we were saying, this movie could have easily got confusing because they kept using this trick where every time something would happen, Neo would wake up. Um, and the Wachowskis, they kept the story on track because this could have easily became one of those "this is all a dream" trope movies. And sometimes that just feels like such lazy storytelling. And I'm so glad they didn't go that route because it was really towing the line with becoming that. Like, is he dreaming? He just woke up again. Is he dreaming? He just woke up again. But no, they make sure you know that that's not the case.
As the rest of Morpheus's crew straps Neo into a chair, he is told that the pill he took is part of a trace program so they can pinpoint him. Neo notices a mirror suddenly repairing itself and is confused. He reaches out and the mirror slides up his arm and threatens to consume him, while one of Morpheus's crew, Apoc, has a hard time finding Neo. The mirror substance takes over Neo just as Apoc finds him. He blacks out, and upon waking, he finds himself inside a pod filled with pinkish liquid. He's hairless and naked, with a thick black tube snaking down his throat and plugged into the back of his skull, spine, and invading most of the rest of his body. He looks around, seeing millions of pods, each one containing another body. A machine appears and ejects him out of the system, releasing all the hoses on him and down a drainage tube. He lands in a sewer full of filthy water. A hovercraft appears above him, snags him, and hauls him up into the cargo bay. Neo finds himself surrounded by Morpheus's crew again, but they're all dressed differently, in simple knit garments. Just before Neo passes out, Morpheus says to him, "Welcome to the real world." Neo drifts in and out of consciousness. The crew use acupuncture to revive Neo's atrophied muscles. When he wakes finally, his hair has grown a bit, suggesting that he was on that table for some time. Morpheus comes to get him and demands answers. Morpheus tells him that they're in the future and urges him to come with him. He gives Neo a tour of his ship, the Nebuchadnezzar, an old beaten hovercraft. Neo is introduced to Morpheus' crew, including Trinity, Apoc, Switch, Cypher, Tank, and Dozer, and a young thin man named Mouse. Um, I was so blown away by this scene the first time I saw this movie, I didn't realize it was Keanu Reeves. I did not know it was him. I
Wow.
literally was like, wait a second. We were doing this scene in that house with who's this person? Had no clue it was Keanu Reeves. They filmed this scene a couple months after they wrapped on the movie, and he had lost a bunch of weight and had let his muscles go, like all of his tone was gone. He just basically stopped working out and obviously shaved his head, shaved his eyebrows. He even cut his eyelashes off to make him look as hairless as possible. And yeah, I thought that was really fascinating because I legitimately did not recognize him at all.
So when Neo takes the red pill, they sell this panic like as he is covered by the T2 goo, we'll call it, the silver Terminator 2. I literally feel the panic here. I mean, nobody likes to not be able to breathe. It's just shot so well.
Well, also, they've been leaning so heavily on the Alice in Wonderland imagery,
Yes.
and he literally goes through the looking glass.
It's so good.
Right,
It's
right.
so good. And then we get this look of the human power plant, the visual storytelling. It's amazing. It tells you everything you need to know. I mean, honestly, you barely even need fucking Morpheus to explain the power plant. You know what I mean? I mean, it's great that he does, but they're telling you everything with your eyes, just like Star Wars. But unlike Star Wars and The Fly, the Wachowskis do explain some of the sci-fi in this movie, but they do it in a very entertaining, easy to understand way. Like, they could have easily had Neo be saved out of the power plant and just got right to work on the Nebuchadnezzar, and you would have never questioned his eyes not working or him not having any muscle tone. You would have just been along for the ride. You know what I mean? But they took the time to address it. He can't see because he's never used his eyes. He can't use his muscles, and they show him with all the acupuncture in. And I thought that was really cool. I can't imagine him trying to get up to take a piss or shit with all those fucking giant needles. Like, hey, go easy, don't bump into anything.
Well, he hasn't been eating.
Right.
He throws up later, and it's just white goo.
Right.
So
they're probably just fucking little catheter
intravenously
action.
feeding him. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And we get some more hints here that Cypher is a creep. Trinity has the hots for Neo. Cypher has a crush on Trinity. He's sour over her love interest in Neo. I don't remember you ever bringing me dinner. It's so heavy-handed that it kind of takes away from the betrayal scene where he meets with Agent Smith. And It only really did this time watching it and reviewing it for the podcast. Kind of like sometimes I don't pick up on these things just from watching. I don't remember them this way. But now I wasn't surprised when we got to that scene. I was like, oh yeah, I saw that coming fucking from the very first dialogue in the movie, really.
I mean,
between
they
him.
go so far as
Exactly.
to telegraph it with everybody else in natural colors, grays, browns, tans, and Cypher's in red.
Yeah.
He's the only one. He's a literal red flag.
Yeah, he's a red flag. He's a red flag.
If you've seen the movie before and you watch it again, you immediately pick up Cypher's voice in the opening scene. Add the jealousy to Trinity's affection for Neo and the way she dotes over him. You pick up again right away that Cypher is not to be trusted, not at all.
Right.
I loved it when Neo asks Morpheus, why do my eyes hurt? And just so calmly and matter of factly, because you've never used them before.
He is
Crazy.
Was just the way he delivered that line was so perfect for that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, he's literally the fucking like Darth Vader's voice in this. It's this like iconic, voice that just carries you through this movie. Oh, it's so fucking
They're
good.
just and that's like not the only scene. There are scenes like when they're in the dojo.
Yep.
The way he's talking to Neo, trying to explain to him why he's not.
You
know.
think that's air you're breathing? And he gives him that look.
When he
it's so
delivers that line with the smile and the quizzical look on his face, you
it's so
just
good.
gotta cheer.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, that was so good. You're just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it kind of reminded me of the voice of what's the actor's name that was in Shawshank Redemption?
Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, Morgan Freeman. You know, he could have literally played Morpheus, in my opinion. You know, maybe if they beefed him up a little bit. Same thing, though. Just a great voice actor. Like, you know, either of these guys could do voice acting for fucking anything. So good.
I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed Lawrence Fishburne in the John Wick series, playing the King of the Bowery.
Mm-hmm.
That voice was just so commanding and powerful that no matter how he looked and how he dressed, you just knew he was the top dog.
Yeah, and he'll say something like all prolific in that voice, and then fucking Neil will go, whoa.
He immediately goes back to Ted.
He does. Whoa. Like, there were a lot of whoas in this.
At this point, he promises to show Neo everything, urging him to sit in a chair specially designed with a hole in the back of the headrest. A long needle-like probe is inserted into the socket at the back of Neo's skull, through the pre-existing jack the machines had inserted. Neo finds himself in a white room. Morpheus appears and explains that they're in the construct, a loading platform. He reminds Neo that his hair is different and the plugs in his body are now gone because he's projecting a residual self-image. Morpheus reveals AI led to the demise of humans, and after a war between them, the machines have turned human beings into power sources. The Matrix is a computer simulation used to keep humans sedate and asleep. Neo struggles with this new information, and he throws up and passes out. Later, Morpheus explains that he freed Neo because he believes Neo to be the One, a man prophesied by the Oracle to be a reincarnation of the man who first woke to the reality of the Matrix and started freeing others, including Morpheus. The return of the One would mean the destruction of the Matrix. The next day, Neo starts his training. Tank has him sit in a chair and begins loading combat training directly into Neo's mind. Neo loves this and asks Tank to continue. Neo is fed a series of martial arts techniques, and Morpheus decides he wants to challenge Neo. They have an impressive reality-bending battle before Morpheus loads the jump program. Both men now stand on a high-rise with another across the street. Morpheus leaps from one building to the next, a seemingly impossible feat. Neo nervously tries to follow him and doesn't make the jump, falling to the pavement below. When Neo wakes back up on the ship, his mouth is bloody. He learns that though it is a computer program, it is still reality to your mind, and if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life. So I jumped over the martial arts scene because I wasn't going to write it out, blow for blow, but it cannot be overstated or even understated how amazing that scene is. The amazing choreography, the great special effects, so clever. And even the dialogue is so clever and so good. And you watch it and you're spellbound. It's just that good.
Yeah, and then let's not forget how good the dojo looked with these 50-foot
Amazing.
ceilings. And, again, it goes back
The
to that
tatami
Star Wars.
floors.
Yes, yes, and it goes back to that fucking Star Wars thing that I've been saying, man. You give people visuals like that, and they're not going to get bored. I don't care what the exposition is. Give me something to look at. That
Yeah.
Sandcrawler. Pat, go ahead.
When Morpheus drops his knee into that floor
Yep.
from the height and literally just cracks open that floor, you have to be in awe
Oh,
of
yeah.
the way that was performed. The choreography was it's one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. And one of the things I liked most was both characters kept switching their combat styles. Um,
Yes.
they'd go from drunken boxing to judo to karate to kung fu, and just I think it was Morpheus. Didn't Morpheus do the footwork of Muhammad Ali for a split second with the
Yeah,
shift of the
I
feet
think
back and
so.
forth? My mind immediately went to Muhammad Ali, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just the best scene. The one part of that scene that I truly liked, probably above all else, when Neo does the run up the pole and he flips over in the air and ends up on the other side of Morpheus. As you're watching this movie and you're seeing these scenes, you have to think to yourself, he's gonna fucking get hammered when he hits the floor.
Yeah.
Because he was just watching Morpheus watch Neo go through the whole motion up over his head. He's waiting for him to land, and bam, hits him like a truck. I was like, oh, you saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah. Much like Neo, I am a green belt in Taekwondo. I am a green belt in Okinawan karate. And I have been studying Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for going on 2 years. Now I'm still a white belt, but I am able to submit my wife. So there you go. I am.
Oh,
Well,
please.
Providing she doesn't bite you.
okay. So the explanation of what happened to mankind. Again, this is an incredible scene. Morpheus is gonna show Neo on a old TV,
Love
which
it.
looks magnificent with that
Oh,
old
yeah.
leather chair in this stark white room. It just, oh man, it makes everything pop so well. And again, this visual of the torch fucking 21st century, it's so good. It's so good. I did think that the choice to torch the sky to block the sun was a questionable decision. I mean, it's a kamikaze. This is kind of mankind, though. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. And that's what it felt like to me. I also love the idea that of this self image of what you think you look like is what you're going to look like in the Matrix, the way you perceive yourself. And this is very interesting because it's very similar to real life. Like, I'm getting older, and I feel like I still imagine myself the way I looked in my mid 20s, early 30s. So I'll get my hair done and I'll be thinking like, damn man, I look good today. And I'm going to take a selfie, and then I'll take a couple of selfies, and no, I don't look like what as good as I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a sexual Tyrannosaurus. Like I still got some tread on the tire, but you're what you think you look like and what you look like, I think are two different things. I mean, Dylan, would you agree?
Oh no, it's very true.
Yeah,
You have
it's
a
true.
self-image in your head, and
Yeah.
a lot of times it jives with reality, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah. But it's always
No.
weird. Like I think I look better in the mirror and then I'll take the picture and I'll be like, wait a second. No, no, no. It's looking better in the mirror. So I don't know. And yeah, the training scenes, like you guys said, the kung fu fight between Neo and Morpheus. Yeah, just all great. This just great shit. So
Also, I don't know if you caught the Bruce Lee homage, but the little thumb of the
oh yeah.
nose.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's
Oh,
him
yeah.
nodding to Bruce Lee, and it was actually not written in the script, and he had to fight to make sure it made it into the film.
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
So good. So good.
Neo's training continues, including a program that teaches him who agents are and what they're capable of. They are everywhere and can jump into any body of anyone still asleep in the Matrix. Their training is interrupted when Sentinels come close to the ship. Machines searching for any signs of humans in the sewers and storm pipes. Their only weapon against them is an EMP, which will fry all electronics in a huge radius. That night, Neo startles Cypher, who's working at a computer console streaming with green code. After they share a drink and a few words, Neo returns to bed, but Cypher is on the move. He meets with Agent Smith in a restaurant, and it's revealed he's looking to betray Morpheus in order to be reinserted into the Matrix. The agent is looking for codes to get into Zion, the last human city near the center of the Earth. The next day, Morpheus announces that he's taking Neo to see the Oracle. Morpheus, Trinity, Neo, Apoc, Switch, Mouse, and Cypher are all jacked into the Matrix. As they walk out of a warehouse, Cypher secretly throws his cell phone into the garbage. When Neo arrives at the Oracle's apartment, he finds children there, bending spoons and levitating blocks. The Oracle is baking cookies. She sizes Neo up and asks him whether he thinks he's the one. Neo admits that he does not know and that Morpheus has almost convinced him that he is. She predicts that Neo will have to choose whether he or Morpheus dies. Then she offers him a cookie and promises him that he will feel fine as soon as he's done. Des brought this up. She's a computer program and she's giving him a cookie, which is what we do every day when you go to a website. Is it okay if we do cookies and
accept all cookies?
Accept all cookies and you'll feel better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't catch it until he said it, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so fucking clever!"
Yeah,
Can I ask a question before I forget? Because I'm way too high. When Cypher goes and meets with Agent Smith,
this is why you got to wait your turn.
Fine.
No, go ahead. You can steal my thunder.
I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if Cypher goes to meet with Agent Smith and nobody knows this is happening, how the hell did he exit the Matrix without any way to pull him back in?
It's a huge hole. I said you had to address it. It's the elephant in the room. How did Cypher jack into the Matrix solo to meet with the agents without the help of anybody, without an operator?
I'm not the only one that thought about that.
No, how did he get out?
Not to mention, they're not at broadcast depth.
They're not at broadcast depth.
When Morpheus comes into the kitchen the next morning, he says, "Bring us up to broadcast depth. We're going in."
Yeah.
So
I mean,
there are some holes.
It's a tiny ship. Somebody's going for a midnight snack or to take a piss, and you see Cypher like eating a steak, like chewing in the chair. Well, Agent Smith, no. This is a hole in the this is a hole, but nothing. But it's funny because I never ever noticed it until I watched for the movie review.
Right.
I've seen this movie 500 times. I've never asked myself that question once.
Exactly. That's why I thought of it, and I'm like, I've got to get this out because I know I'll forget if I don't.
Yeah, doing this review has really knocked some holes in some of my favorite movies. So I love the AI monsters. These Sentinels, they look fucking awesome. But I had to ask a question. So when they shut it down with the EMP, I go, okay, why didn't the world use giant EMP strikes to shut down the AI? I mean, it would have shut the grid down and it would have shut down everything in the world electrical. We would have been back to, horse and wagon times, but at least the environment wouldn't have been uninhabitable for human beings. Like that technology's been around.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that there's a video game that's called Horizon Zero Dawn. And it's basically like there's machines that have taken over in some places, and it's very clear that at some point the machines were literally taking over and they had to do a similar thing. They did not scorch the sky. I think they used EMP stuff, but just to a certain degree, some machines still work, but it's very like, if you're a person, they're living like tribal people. Like you're not supposed to be using electricity because they don't trust it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because people now are talking about how, AI is getting dangerous. I mean, there's people out there like Elon Musk, which is funny because he's on the leading edge of creating AI and telling us that it's going to kill us all. It's like, well, maybe you should slow down the fucking, the research on it. But whatever. That's nor here nor there. But I'm just saying how forward thinking this movie was.
I mean, obviously these people didn't watch Terminator. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Well, AI is, such a big thing now, and a lot of different approaches towards the subject in movies and so forth, like the movie AI with Haley Joel Osment. And even the serious person of interest is based on AI and what it's capable of and what can happen if it becomes sentient and decides that humans are no longer um, worth saving
Yeah.
because they're the reason everything has gone to shit.
Yeah.
If you get an AI that smart, we're fucked, people.
Oh, dude,
Mhm.
we're fucked. It's already there. I mean, eventually they're gonna get the fucking launch codes and we're done. So this scene with the Oracle, again, it's great. We're gonna see like this little kid, the little Buddha kid that bends the spoon. I love all of this. And the Wachowskis did something really smart here. They had to introduce a little misdirection at this point in the movie, because at this point in the movie we all are just like, it's Neo. And you start to lose interest when there's no more stakes, you know? It's Neo. I know he's the one. It's fucking obvious. Nope. She says you're not the one. And I'm going to take her word for it because they're telling us she is the all knowing.
But here's the thing. She does not say you're not the one. She tells him something that's so you can't
Yeah.
really tell. So she says to him, she says, you already know what I'm going to tell you. And he said
Yes.
that I'm not the one. And she
Sorry,
said,
kiddo.
sorry, kid.
Yeah.
It
You
seems
got the
like you're
gift.
waiting for something.
She goes,
Yeah.
you got the gift, but
When
yeah.
You're
when
waiting for
actually
something.
she's saying, "Sorry, kiddo, you are the one. You
Yes.
got a big shit coming up."
You need to fucking get your act together.
I was going to say it's presented as a misdirection though. Yeah. And my final observation is, why do they dress like they're going to goth night at Man Ray? Like, why do they look like
Gotham
they're going
City.
to goth night at the Limelight in New York City when they're entering the Matrix? Why not dress like businessmen and women, right? Like, put on some fucking plain suits and just try and like glide around in there. They're like, no, they're putting a bullseye on their backs. I get it. This movie is built on a sexy goth style, and it wouldn't be fun to watch them walking around in business suits, but it would be the smart play.
But I did like the contrast. Everybody coming out of the factory, going to the Oracle. Everyone's wearing black except Switch.
Yes.
All white.
Switch is albino white hair, wearing the white outfit, and it was such a great
Oh, I
contrast.
fucking love Switch. I wish that she had been a fucking dude in the Matrix. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
All right.
The studio would not allow them to do it. They said the best we can do is allow you to make her a tomboy.
Yeah, and now the studio would be like, "What do you guys think about making her a guy in the Matrix?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be
Yeah.
the play. So
Yeah.
it shows you how much things have changed since the '90s.
When the crew returns to their load-in point, there's something wrong. Agents are there. They've cut the phone line. Every door and window has been bricked up, and the agents and the police are coming. Mouse is killed in a hail of bullets. Back on the Nebuchadnezzar, the real Mouse spurts blood from his mouth and dies in his chair. The remaining crew work their way down the inside of the walls, only to be found out when fucking Cypher coughs.
Ah.
An agent takes over the body of the policeman, reaching through the wall and grabs Neo by the neck. Morpheus sacrifices himself, tackling the agent so that the others can run. Cypher returns to the Nebuchadnezzar first and proceeds to kill Tank and Dozer before speaking to Trinity on the phone. He reveals that he was in love with her, but now just wants to go back into the Matrix. He kills Switch and APOC, and just as he is about to kill Neo, Tank appears, injured but alive, and kills Cypher with the same gun he attacked him with. Tank then brings back Trinity and Neo. Meanwhile, Agent Smith is torturing Morpheus, trying to get the codes because he wants to leave the Matrix. If the last of humanity in the real world has been wiped out, there'll be no need for agents anymore. Back on the hovercraft, Tank can tell from Morpheus' readouts that they're attempting to break him. He knows that Morpheus has those codes and decides to unhook him before he can reveal them. Back in the Matrix, the agents process their next move. If Cypher is dead, they deduce that the remaining humans on the ship will terminate Morpheus. They decide to stick to their original plan and deploy Sentinels. Tank is performing what amounts to last rites from Morpheus, laying one hand on his head just as the other moves to the back of his skull to remove the jack. Just as he's about to pull it out, Neo stops him. He realizes that the Oracle was right. He now has to make the choice to save himself or to save Morpheus. His choice is to head back into the Matrix. Trinity decides to go with him. This whole ending of the movie from here on out, it's such a roller coaster ride. It moves so fast. There's so many great scenes. I mean, this just even them going down the inside of the wall, and you've got the
wet
black
wall.
on either side, and it's so tight and tiny, and just such clever cinematography, like really, really well done. of course, using deja vu as the thing that tips you off that something has changed in the Matrix is like so freaking clever. Because how many of us have been like, "Oh, deja vu"? Like it happens
Yeah,
regularly.
exactly.
So I was like, that's just fucking weird.
Bringing in, I thought the Wachowskis bringing in the black cat and the idea of deja vu was clever because, like you said, it's something that happens to us all the time. So they're selling their concept to us, like, this could be real. Like they want you to
Yeah.
leave the theater and go, "Am I living in a fucking simulation?" Which apparently we probably fucking are, which is bizarre. So this scene where
And
Agent
still, they
Smith,
expect me to pay my bills. What the fuck?
exactly, yeah,
God
stop
damn it.
yeah, it's just not good. So this scene where Agent Smith explains to Morpheus that he can't stand being in the Matrix and he wants to escape as well. This is great. And he also explains that the AI wanted to coexist with humans, even though they wanted to use them as, energy. They had built a heaven, a nirvana on Earth for humanity to live in. But humanity wasn't happy with nirvana. They needed misery and violence to be comfortable. And it couldn't be any fucking closer to the truth. I mean, if you look at the entertainment industry, it's built on violence and murder and fucking sexualization. I mean, all these shows about, Nightmare Next Door, 24, murder, and we just can't get enough. And your mind is just like your body. If you put good things in your body, you'll be a fairly healthy person. If you put junk food into your body, you'll be a big, fat, unhealthy person. And your mind is the same way. If like these people that just junk on the news all day long or whatever it is,
It fucks you up.
yeah, or, just watching murder TV nonstop or, just junking on pornography or whatever it is, people wonder why we live in such a fucking polluted fucking humanity where there's so much fucking misery and violence and just lack of fucking empathy for each other. And it's because people are just fucking pigging out on just bad content. And yeah, it really just makes you think, I mean, I go out of my way at this point to try not to fucking pollute my mind with too much, garbage because it's just not good for you.
You get like a point of satisfaction when it's finally revealed that Cypher is who he is and the betrayal that he brings. Um, watching APOC die and seeing Switch's reaction to what happened, there's a real feelings there for him, and she knows what's coming when she looks up and says, "Not this way, not like this."
Yeah,
And then she drops, and it's like, oh, every plug he pulls, you hate Cypher a little bit more. I mean, you already didn't like him because he had this attitude, but now he's killing everyone off.
Yep.
Having Tank not be dead had to happen. It had to happen. There's no way the movie goes on without Tank surviving. So when he shows up, the weapon he uses, the special effect was was so cool.
I loved it.
You can put that right along with lightning effects from Marvel's Thor movies. It was right there at that, and it took place so much,
almost 30 years ago.
Long ago. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When they're going down the wet wall, Cypher coughing again. There it is again. He is such an asshole. He's such a dickhead. And it's funny how he tries to hide it, but as soon as and he tries to stifle it, and he does the first time, but he doesn't the second time, and it's like, oh, you fucking dickhead.
Think about what's on the line for Cypher, though. He's been given an opportunity to be plugged back into the Matrix as a movie star. And he's done, man. Like, he does not want to live on that ship anymore. He does not want to be fucking jacking off with 5 guys in a tin can eating fucking porridge. He's good. Like, he's ready to do whatever he has to do to fucking win the prize.
Am I the only one that thought to themselves when he's making this deal with Agent Smith that there was no fucking way they were going to that the machines were going to honor this?
No,
they're going to double cross him for sure. They were going to double cross him.
Absolutely, you have to think that, and to see how satisfied he is, and I want to be somebody important, like a movie star, And all I'm saying to myself as he's stop saying these things is like, dude, you're a fucking delusional.
Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna honor this.
The only way
have no reason to.
Then the only way they could, because we've already been told that you can't be plugged back into the Matrix permanently through the power plant, but they could probably, set him up a room somewhere with a chair and an operator. He'd have to come out to eat and fucking shit and piss, but he could live most of his life in there. But it's funny. So this goes right back to fucking Inception, where they've got the machine and they're plugged in, and they're dreaming 40 hours a week, they say, and they can do this in in an 8-hour sleep or a 6-hour sleep. Very similar. I mean, Inception really borrowed heavily from the Matrix.
Downstairs of the place where Morpheus is being held, Trinity and Neo enter, heavily armed. They shoot their way past the guards and a group of soldiers and make their way onto the elevator. Upstairs, the agents realize that they're trying to save Morpheus. In the elevator, Trinity arms a bomb. They both climb through a hatch to the elevator roof, attaching a clamp to the elevator cable. They take the fast way to the roof while the bomb blows up on the ground floor. Agents feel the rumble of the explosion and the sprinklers come on in the building. On the roof, Trinity and Neo take out the soldiers attacking them until an agent takes one of them over. Neo shoots several rounds at the agent, who dodges them and pulls out his own weapon. The agent begins to shoot, and instead of being shot, Neo dodges most of the bullets, though 2 of them do nick him. As the agent approaches Neo, who's laying on the ground, he levels a kill shot, and Trinity shoots him before he can fire. Trinity marvels at how fast Neo has just moved. She's never seen anyone move that fast. Trinity brings the helicopter down to the floor that Morpheus is on, and Neo opens fire on the 3 agents. The agents fall quickly, and Morpheus is alone in the room. Just as quickly, the agents take over soldiers stationed nearby. Morpheus breaks his bonds and begins to run to the helicopter. The agents fire on him, hitting his leg. Morpheus leaps, but Neo realizes he's not going to make it and throws himself out of the helicopter using the safety harness. He catches Morpheus, but Agent Smith shoots the helicopter's hydraulic line. Trinity manages to get Neo and Morpheus over a high roof. They drop, and Trinity narrowly avoids dying, but safely cuts the safety line and swings away from the explosion. Morpheus believes this is proof that Neo is the one. They call Tank, who tells them of an exit in a subway nearby. They quickly find the phone booth, and Morpheus exits. A homeless man watching sees this occur, and Agent Smith picks up on it and appropriates his body. Trinity exits just as Smith shoots the phone receiver, making it useless. Neo refuses to run and instead fights Smith. Meanwhile, the Sentinels have arrived to attack the Nebuchadnezzar. There are 5 of them, and they're closing fast. Morpheus tells Tank to charge the EMP, while Trinity reminds him he can't use it while Neo is still in the Matrix. The fight with Agent Smith in the subway.
Awesome.
Just so good. Do you hear that, Mr. Anderson? That's the sound of inevitability. Yeah,
so good.
But you also have a nod towards the eventual transition of the Wachowskis, because he says, Mr. Anderson, my name is Neo, and this is my chosen name. This is who I really am. And I was like, that's aged like fine wine. But at the time, we weren't thinking anything of that. But now, looking back, I was like, wow, that was actually really forward thinking.
Yeah. Like you had said, this whole fucking office building shootout scene, all practical effects, all of it. And I couldn't believe it when I watched it, knowing that. I was like, wow, this is really impressive. I did have a problem with Neo unloading 1 million rounds from a mounted Gatling gun
and not hitting Morpheus
on a helicopter, and not even piercing Morpheus's ear. See what I did there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would have been fucking mincemeat. I'm sorry. You're not going to do that. Not from a shaky helicopter. But the build, and again, it never bothered me. Never bothered me, but I got to talk about it here. This build in suspense as the Sentinels close in and ultimately breach the hull of the Nebuchadnezzar. It is fucking. Can you imagine if I had done the read on this? How many things I would have called that spaceship?
Brutalized it.
It's so well done. Tell me you guys didn't feel that urgency.
Of course.
Like the way they waited.
Yes, you're doing this thing. You're going, come on. Let's go. And they play it perfectly. I mean, they're in the ship.
Oh, it's they build great. The thrill. They build the thrill big time.
And Dylan, like you said, the showdown between Agent Smith and Neo, It is such an amazing play on the old Western, right down to having the newspaper blow across the street
Yes.
like a fucking old tumbleweed. Oh, they're having a good time with this movie. I'm having a good time with this movie. It's fucking dynamite. It's dynamite. That's what I got.
I'm sure this won't come as a surprise, but the rescue of Morpheus was probably my favorite part of the entire movie. They did it, the slow motion scenes that they used in this firefight were so epic.
Oh, that one shot when it's like and Agent Smith
Yeah.
is kind of falling back, and
Oh,
then it
it's so
goes in,
good.
and then it goes in real time. It's
and
so good.
And the iconic line Trinity, dodge this. Oh, it's
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
oh yeah. That I had read. Now the minigun that Neo used in the helicopter is the same weapon used in Predator, and also in one of our upcoming podcasts used by Arnold in T2.
Correct.
Minigun.
Same exact prop gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same exact
But
one.
what I did notice and what I did read is they actually had it calibrated. Get ready for this. Half its fire rate for this movie and
Yeah.
that scene. 3,000 compared to 6,000 rounds per minute.
Isn't that
Wow.
crazy?
That's
And he
nuts.
didn't nick fucking
And it
Morpheus.
didn't hit Morpheus, but he shredded the glass and steel holding the fucking the front of that room together.
He didn't even get hit with any glass shrapnel.
I know.
Nothing.
But
Nothing.
there
was
were
nothing.
certain, but in the lobby, there were certain scenes in the slow motion that just really grabbed you, and you had to go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
Neo doing the one-handed cartwheel, and
While
that
he's shooting.
one hand. No, this is a different one. He
Oh.
does the one-handed cartwheel, and the hand that's on the ground grabs the
The gun.
M16 as he comes out of the damn tumble to open fire on somebody. The only thing about that scene that I didn't like but was needed for the effect was the way those bullets shredded solid steel reinforced concrete.
Yeah.
Shredded it like it was made of styrofoam. Now, I don't mind all the tile exploding. Tile ceramic, it's going to shatter like glass. But those concrete pillars look like friggin' Swiss cheese when they were done with that scene. And that's
That
just
looked
not going to happen. But it was needed.
So, did you guys notice that Morpheus was wearing earbuds? They were trying to break him with something in his ears.
Oh, I didn't
When-
notice.
No,
Yeah,
I
so
didn't either.
he's wearing earbuds. They're playing the Nickelback album to try and break him.
Oh, God.
I made that up. There's no Nickelback.
Are you sure they weren't playing excerpts from your YouTube channel?
Oh shit, fuck you.
Back in the Matrix, Neo is running for his life after letting Agent Smith get run over by a train. Agents are taking over citizens, jumping from person to person, trying to catch him. Neo swipes a phone, and Tank tells him to go to the heart of the city, room 303, for an exit. On the Nebuchadnezzar, the Sentinels have arrived. They begin to tear the ship apart. Neo reaches room 303 and enters. He's immediately shot point blank in the chest by Agent Smith. Smith empties his magazine into Neo's body. Neo slumps to the floor dead, and on the ship, Neo's vital signs drop to nothing. The Sentinels' lasers are beginning to cut through major parts of the hovercraft. Trinity leans over his dead body. She reveals that she's in love with Neo, and the Oracle told her that she would be in love with the One, so he has to get up. Neo begins breathing again, and in the Matrix, he stands up. The agents open fire, and Neo simply stops the bullets in their tracks. Because just like Morpheus said, when you know you are the One, you won't have to dodge the bullets. Neo can now see the Matrix running in green code. Smith attacks, but Neo easily defeats him before jumping into his body and exploding him. The other two agents smartly run away, because, yeah. The Sentinels are now fully in the ship. They're right above Trinity and Morpheus. Back in Matrix, Neo sprints to the ringing phone in room 303. Morpheus has no choice but to engage the EMP. He does, and the Sentinels fall to the floor. Neo has made it back, and he kisses Trinity. The screen is black, and the tracking program starts again, just like the start of the movie, this time over Neo's voice. The program stops due to error. He promises whoever listening that he's going to show everyone the truth about the Matrix. He hangs up, and he flies away. Oh, I just read it and I gave myself chills. I fucking love the end of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Boy. Yeah, is that what you got?
That's it. I mean,
Okay.
like, as you know, like, Why? How does he come back to life? Who fucking knows? I guess because he's the one. So he
Yeah,
just.
it's the one.
I don't
So-
care. I don't care why. I just love it. I don't care.
So the final act of the movie, it puts a nice little bow tie on the flick. And I get it. The message is love conquers everything. But I don't know. The end of the movie for me was a little bit lacking in compared to the rest of the movie. It was a little bit I'm fine with it. I get it. Could
And
Neo
you're
have
gonna
died?
love my alternate ending.
Could Neo have died and Trinity have been the one? Absolutely. Might have been better. I was fine with the kiss bringing him back to life. I thought it was a little weak in comparison to the rest of the movie creatively, but it worked. I also really think it was a mistake not having Morpheus die in this movie. I think that he should have been the martyr at the end. He should have died. It would have been more powerful. And I also think that this should have been a one-off. I don't think they should have made any more Matrixes after this one because it just put a black eye on the franchise. If it was made today and Switch had been a man in the Matrix like it was, discussed, it could have very easily been, they could have kept her alive to the end of the movie. Neo could have died and, Switch could have been there to save him in the Matrix as a man. And then, woken up in the Nebuchadnezzar, kissed fucking Trinity. And we could have found out that they were in love and it was actually Switch that was the one, which would have been interesting. There were so many ways they could have gone with it that would have been a little more satisfying than just this like really simple saccharine ending with this kind of generic phone call and him flying away like Superman. It was fine. It just felt a little small in comparison to everything I got leading up to it, but it was fine.
One of my favorite parts during this ending is when Neo is on the run and he's trying to get to this phone.
Yeah.
He goes into the marketplace. Shit, there's an agent. He turns. Shit, there's an agent. My favorite part in that whole scene when he goes into the left door, and it's a couple of elderly women in their apartment. He goes into the kitchen. The camera briefly shows the senior citizen holding the knife, making a salad, and within a split second, the camera shows Neo heading for the door and that knife being thrown into the door frame. The camera goes back and the old lady's an agent.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that was just so awesome.
Pat, what movie came out first, T2 or Matrix? Do you guys know?
T2, isn't that 92?
I think so. This was 99.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
have
yeah.
to ask Google.
So the silver goo definitely felt very T2. We're gonna get the Gatling gun from T2. We're gonna get alien that can, reach out and touch and mimic human beings. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of T2 here at this point. Yeah.
The fight with Agent Smith, as he's running, you just don't expect Smith to be in room 303. So when the camera finally shows Neo open the door and he takes a round from a fucking Desert Eagle, point blank in the chest, your first reaction when you see it is to gasp. You're like, oh my God. Well, how the hell did that happen? I think Neo coming to full accept that he is the one was so perfect when they did the callback to Morpheus saying,
he believes.
well, no, when Neo asked, what are you saying? I'll be able to dodge bullets. And Morpheus's response,
Oh, yeah.
when you're done, you won't need to. And they do that callback so beautifully. He just raises his hand and suddenly he has complete control. Agent Smith comes at him and Neo's fighting him like it's just like he's reading the paper while doing so. It is just so easy for him now. The only thing that I didn't think they had to make it necessary for Neo to jump into Agent Smith to destroy him.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little over the top. I did like the way, because I like the special effects and I'm an action person. So I liked the end with Neo taking off like Superman. Because basically, in the Matrix, if you believe you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, just like
You
in
just
Inception.
Exactly. If you believe that this is something you're capable of, now that they know what the Matrix is, they know they're capable of pretty much doing anything they want. And
But
that's
not all of them can do that. So it only applies to Neo.
to Neo, right?
And to a lesser extent, the rest of them.
Right. But I thought the ending was kind of fitting. It was a little too mushy with the love between Trinity and Neo. Seemed to be a play on Sleeping Beauty
Yeah.
with the kiss that wakes up the hero.
Yeah. The problem with the ending, though, is that the Wachowskis did not spend enough time in a 2 hour and what was this, 35-minute movie. They could have given us a little more. They could have made this relationship a little bit deeper, so I cared more when she said, you can't be dead. I love you. I didn't feel the love between Neo and Trinity that much. Did you guys feel it? Like, did it give you the feels, their
No.
relationship?
No, I mean, honestly, they
delved.
didn't take enough time to build that out. And with the amount of time that they had, granted, it's such a story heavy movie, and to fit all of that stuff in, and that Trinity is hot for him, but you never understand that he's hot for her.
Yeah. And for that to be the end of the movie and be building to this final scene, I think we really need to believe in that relationship a little more for it to be as effective as it could be. So that's it. We've broken down the Matrix. I think we did it. I think it was good. I think this was a great 100th episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Let's recast this, and I'll get us started with maybe the greatest recasting in the history of Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie?
Haven't we heard this before?
I would replace Keanu Reeves with the late Brandon Lee. Oh my God. Can you imagine Brandon Lee as the fucking Neo?
I would have loved it.
That.
Yeah.
I would have loved it.
I mean, the martial arts scenes would have been over the top, and he could very easy. Can you imagine him doing the Bruce Lee flick of the fingers? I mean, an homage to his father. Yeah, it would have been great. Dylan, what do you got for a recast?
Well, you won me over on that. Usually I poo-poo your recasting, but that was awesome.
Thank you. I know that hurts.
Yeah. Well, it's okay, because it's Brandon Lee, and I still love him. So I'm going to recast Trinity, and that's not to say that I don't love Carrie-Anne Moss, because I do. I think she's fantastic. I think she did an awesome job with this movie, but the assignment is to recast it. So I'm going to recast her with Angelina Jolie, because Angelina Jolie basically played this exact character in that movie, Wanted.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
How about with Joan Jett?
no.
I'm joking. That's good. That's a good one, Dylan. She's a strong woman. She played Tomb Raider. She could have pulled this off.
Yes.
Pat, what do you got?
Okay, you're probably going to think this is insane, but I'm going to go and replace Keanu Reeves with one Jason Statham.
Jason Statham, huh?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking along the martial arts line.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see him pulling it off. The accent might be... That was like my first choice, but my backup was Johnny Depp.
Yeah, and I mean, they saw him as Johnny Depp can do anything. I'm fine.
Exactly.
Care what you want to put Johnny Depp in. Yes, please.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Good call.
All right, let's do our alternate endings. I already gave you two alternate endings in
You're
my...
gonna love mine.
I gave you two alternate endings already in my final segment. One where it could have been Switch and one where it could have been Trinity. But here's my alternate ending. After Neo kills the agents and saves the day, we see him and Trinity in bed sleeping in a beautiful home inside the Matrix. Placed on each of their nightstands, we see one red pill, symbolizing that they've decided to live a comfortable life together inside the Matrix.
No, that doesn't work.
Oh, fuck you.
I can't see it working because I never would have met if
that's not
they
happening.
hadn't been in the Matrix.
What are you talking about?
No, not happening.
No, you guys are fucking insane. That's a fucking amazing alternate ending. Dylan, how would you end this movie?
Okay, so even though I do consider the sequels less than the original, in the sequels, it's discovered that Neo is part machine. So he's part machine. So I would like it if they actually told us this, and that's why he's able to survive being shot like 18 times in the chest by a desert eagle. I'd like to know that he's part machine. Like, give us a reason, because I felt like that was really hollow. Like, oh, Trinity kissed him, so he lived. Like, what? That makes no fucking sense. So I would like for him to be able to be, I'm part machine and I can fucking rearrange things as I see fit. And quite frankly, if you can rearrange the fucking Matrix as you see fit, you can fucking bring back Switch. You can bring back APOC. You can bring back Mouse. And then you can have the whole crew back together. You can't fix Dozer, but, you know.
Right.
But you know what? I mean, like, if you're going to fucking make him a god, make him a god. Christ.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I thought mine was better. The 2 red pills
Yours
symbolizing.
sucks.
Dude, mine was fucking great. They decide they're going to live together in the Matrix and have
They would
this
never.
awesome life.
They would
I'm
never.
going
Why
to
would
blow
they-
you both
oh.
away.
No, because now Neo controls the Matrix. He's the king of the Matrix. So this is no longer a fucking AI fucking run world. All right, Pat, what do you got for an ending? We're going to love this. Let's hear this sucker.
After this Neo destroys Agent Smith, the movie is going to continue on to its end, except taking a cue from the Marvel movies. As the credits roll, they're going to cut to a scene where they show the pods and all the copper tops in their red goo. One of them opens, all the hoses come off, the body sits up, and with the smile that looks just like Agent Smith, he says, "Well played, Mr. Anderson."
So you're saying that they put Agent Smith in a pod?
Into a body. And now that body goes into the real world to hunt for Neo and Morpheus and everyone else, or anyone else that survived, because he's no longer restricted to the agent format. Just like he wanted. He wanted out of the Matrix. He wanted to be done with the humans. And he's now ironically becomes one of them to help stop them.
Okay. Interesting. I think out of the 3 of us, mine was the best.
No, it's not.
You do.
100%.
Garbage.
Of course you do.
Pat's had potential, but he didn't spend enough time writing. I was lost. I got a little lost in that fucking ending. And DeLynne's, I mean, I guess he's going to be a robot at the end. All right.
Well, I'm not saying he's going to be a robot. I'm just saying if he's part machine already, tell us that and give us a reason why he's able to survive.
See, what you guys are missing is they've got the red pills on their nightstand, so it's symbolizing that they've chosen to live
go back to
live their lives out in the
No.
Matrix, but they can go back by taking the red pill anytime they want. All right, mine's best. Mine was the best. Let's move on. So final thoughts. This movie stood the test of time. I loved it. My rewatch score is a perfect 5. It's a perfect movie. It's got to sit on the top of the mountain with the rest of the perfect movies. DeLynne, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I gave Star Wars a perfect 5 last week, and I hate to give 2 perfect 5s in a row, but like I said, The Matrix actually passed my phone test, and I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It passed my phone test. I never looked at my phone once. At one point, I was like, what time is it? Like, I didn't even know. It's a 5.
Pat, what do you got?
We're going to call this a trio.
Nice.
There's no question this is a 5. This is one of those unique movies that when it came out, you sat in the audience with a look of awe on your face, with your mouth wide open at some of these things that you've never seen before on TV or a movie screen. So there's no question it's a 5.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our 100th episode. I hope you guys liked it. Again, we don't get paid to do this. We spend a lot of time putting this together every single week for 2 years now. And all we ask in return is that you please just like and subscribe to the podcast. Leave a comment, share it with a friend if you know someone that likes movies as much as we do. We will be back next week where we will be discussing Legally Blonde. And we'll be doing this with Tony, the podcaster with a degree in terror who hates movies like this. he has been baited onto this podcast by his wife, who will be suggesting rom-coms from time to time and torturing Tony with them. So I think that will be worth tuning in for. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
We will be debuting the very first episode of Violent Vinyl next week. So the music podcast, our sister podcast, will be back on the air, completely revamped, new format, focusing on rad music from the 80s and the 90s, mostly hair metal with a sprinkle of goth and industrial. And we've got a new co-host with Lisa, the podcaster who likes the dark side of the beat, joining her better half, Dangerous Dave. So there you go. Got all that to look forward to next week. Until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.